Hello there, this is AgriTalk right here on KTN Farmers TV. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi, and today we'll be talking about warehouse receipting system and how this contributes into food safety. And with me, I have Samuel Ogola, who is the CEO, Warehouse Receipting System Council, and also Rose Mutuku, who is the Eastern Africa Grain Council Director, and she's also a warehouse operator, and they are here to just give us a perspective from where they sit, how we need to be storing grains, how we need to be making sure that our foods are at a critical, safe space that everyone can really benefit from. Now, before we start our conversation, I would like them to introduce themselves. All right, so start with you, Rose Mutuku. Thank you for your time and tell us what else that you do outside what I've talked about.
Thank you, Kelvin. My name is Rose Mutuku. I'm also a council member at the Warehouse Receipting Council, representing East African Grain Council and, in general, traders, processors of the grain who are members of the council.
All right.
Yeah.
And over to you, Mr. Samuel.
Thank you, Kelvin. I'm Samuel Ogola. I'm the CEO and registrar of the Warehouse Receipt System Council. The council is now 2.5 years old, and we are progressing well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So let's get right into it and get into the conversation. When we talk about food safety in Kenya, this has been a subject that has been in people's mouths for even right now. Every year you come in, it's food safety, food safety, food safety. So in terms of really following the guidelines that we need to be following, where are we as a country?
Food safety is, of course, a very sensitive subject in the country because it also contributes to the lives of people. It touches on a lot of things. But you cannot look at food safety in a silo. It starts from all the way from even the land preparation of the farmer, how they are handling the product at the farm, what they are spraying, what kind of fertilizer, what kind of seed that they are putting in there, how they harvested it, how it has been handled from the farmer's gate all the way to the market. So food safety, you have to look at it across the value chain. Because I can also handle my food very well, but I throw it in a truck that had carried some chemicals to still be contaminated. So yes, food safety is a subject that should be under conversation that we should handle and address as a country. Yeah.
All right, Samuel, now even also you contributing into what she's talked about, because Rose has really talked about from the farm. It all starts from the farm. And looking at this and the farms that we usually have, what do you think could be the problem when it comes to handling even during the planting season?
Thank you. Let me give you the perspective of the Warehouse Receipt Council.
Yes.
As contribution to food safety. Again, history repeats itself. You remember the story of Joseph in the Bible? The Prime Minister of Egypt.
Yes.
How did he become Prime Minister? There were warehouses where they stored food during the dry season, the drought, so that food would be available during during the plenty, so that food would be available during the drought. So the concept of warehousing started right from that time. And in Kenya, the warehouse receipt system, of course, Joseph didn't have the warehouse receipts. He had the warehouses, which I think have been built by the Egyptians. But in Kenya, the concept of warehouse receipt system is a government intervention and supported by the private sector to address some of the challenges. Key among them, of course, is food safety. But among the problems that the government is trying to address through that, one is food safety, the other is food security, which again, you are aware of. The issue is that agriculture commodities, when harvested, are perishable. So you harvest them today within a span of a month or two or a week, they are damaged. And you want to preserve that. So the Warehouse Receipt Council comes in, that it then provides the warehousing so that from farm, the commodities move to the warehouse. In the warehouse, quality and quantity are assured. So before you are certified to host a warehouse, we must be sure that you are able to then preserve the integrity of the commodity so that quality and quantity are preserved. There is a lot of waste, which may not really be food safety, but there's a lot of waste between the farm and the market. So the warehouse, because the warehouses are close to the producers, they'll be able to help the producers address issues of food safety, among other issues. Of course, there are other issues. Currently, with the perishability or waste is up to 30% of what is produced is lost. Then there's the issue of supply demand. You know, when you harvest, there's a peak in the supply. Everybody is harvesting. You're not the only one. Everybody is harvesting. And the market can only take a certain amount. What you eat, if you eat 1 packet of ugali or 1 packet of beans a month, you won't eat more because there's more available. So supply, demand, there's a lot of supply, demand is the same. You need to store that, like Joseph did. You need to store that for tomorrow when the supply is less. So the warehouse kicks in. If you lack a warehouse, you will store it at home. Most farmers are storing it at home or in funny structures, and this is what leads to food safety, because there's an increase in pests and other, the environment, rainfall and all that. That leads, and they still sell it, and that leads to food safety issues. Aggregation, the small holders who form about 70% of the producers in the country, lack storage. Your grandfather, my grandfather had that small structure that they used to store. That is no longer there. So this, the smallholders are stuck with this produce, and they end up selling it to traders without some safety measures in between. So among those, there are quite a number of things, but those are the key issues.
All right. Now, let me break down all what he has spoken about, because we're really supposed to be speaking about those things. So now, let's first of all start looking at warehouse and the storage. What amount of waste comes from produce that has been stored? What amount of waste comes out of there? Because grains are put there for a period of time before they are taken maybe to the market or they're used. So when you look at even the grains that have been stored, what number of waste comes out of the ones that have been stored?
I think statistics tells us anything between 25, 30%, 35% of that is waste. And that is a storage level.
Yes.
And when we say a storage level, we need to ask ourselves which store. Because there are commercial stores and professional stores, and there are also those stores that our fathers, our mothers, our farmers use. So you'll find that storing food is not easy. There are a number of things that can affect food while in the store. There's moisture, just even from the air, that can affect food. And you find half of the food is spoiled, or 30% of it is spoiled.
Yes.
There's moisture that it can get just from interaction. It can also sometimes even get in some chemicals because we store food at home and we try to use chemicals to preserve it. And we may be not having enough knowledge or sufficient knowledge to handle those chemicals from that. You'll find there are pests and diseases. Different pests that attack the food while it's in storage. So those are some of the issues. We'll also find others is pilferage, which happens like, mother has stored the food in the store, and a child will come and get a kilo out, go sell it for some of the things that they want to do for themselves, or a house girl or a relative. That's still part of this food storage issues. So there are a lot of things that can affect food storage. Handling is one of the key issues, and also how to handle the food, how to keep it in a safe way, and then how to keep it also for a long time. Because of the air and the way the stores are, they cannot hold food for for a period of time. So you'll find that most of the time after we store food, in 3-6 months, all the food is spoiled. And what are we left with? Either throw it to the cows or just throw it away, and that also contributes a lot to food safety issues. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Samuel, in terms of what she's spoken about, when it comes to the food that is wasted, 6 months, food is wasted. So what are the measures that someone who has maybe a store, not necessarily a warehouse, but a place where they can store their produce, what is the ideal time to store something for? Because someone might store the produce for like a year, remove a little, and then they do whatever they want to do with it. They come and check and they say, it's still good, it's still okay. But maybe over this time, the aflatoxins or the bacteria or the chemicals that you've spoken about are building up. So what is the ideal time that you can say, okay, produce has been stored, by this time it needs to get out?
Right. Thank you, Kevin. For each commodity, the time for storage will be different. For cereals, for pulses, for meat, for fish, for milk, all is different. The thing is that all these agricultural commodities, while they look like they are commodities, they are living beings. They have not died.
Yes.
Yeah? They are commodities, they are breathing and all that. Yeah? Yes. So you need a professional approach. Yeah? The standards for storage have already been prescribed by KEBS, Kenya National Bureau of Standards. But you now need professionals to store it under those conditions. So the Warehouse Receipt Council will only certify a warehouse that first is fit for purpose, that it can, if it is for beef, it must be cold storage. If it is for potatoes, it must be cold storage. If it's for cereals, it's dry storage. But it must be fit for purpose. That's the first point. Second point is that the personnel employed must be competent. Yeah? You can't come from the village and you are taking care of potatoes or onions. You must have gone through some training, food science or something equivalent, so that you know what you're doing and then you're able to follow. So the Warehouse Council provides for a manual that will guide that operation, but then also monitors, so that we assure the consumers that what comes from those warehouses, quality top and quantity. So that if you buy 2 bags of maize, it is 2 bags, it's not 1.5. You know, some people play with the weighing scale so that you get less. It has to be quality and quantity assured. Yeah.
And when we talk about fit for purpose, a storage area that is fit for purpose, what do we exactly mean for maybe the different produce?
Let's talk of, look at Nyamakima, not Nyamakima, the Soko. At the end of the day, when you pass through the Mkulima market, it's called Mkulima market, almost half of the produce has been thrown out because they lacked storage. And that, because of the traders, they load that to the coast. So if you're supposed to buy sukuma wiki at 5 pieces for 10 bob, you'll buy 5 pieces for 20 bob, because they factor in that waste. Yeah? But if they had a storage facility close by, where they only take what is needed, then that storage facility would have the competent personnel and equipment. Just like you go to a hospital, it is designed to be a hospital. You go to a hotel, it is designed to be a hotel. And the two are different, isn't it? So even a warehouse to store food crops, whether they are cold storage or cereals, must be designed to suit in terms of temperatures, in terms of humidity, in terms of air circulation, and any other elements of the weather that needs to be moderated to ensure that it is preserved.
All right, very, very insightful. So, Rose, now when we look at markets within Nairobi, food is wasted all the time. Every day, every single day. Actually, I think the amount of food that is wasted on the markets can really help when it comes to organic fertilizer, when it comes to all these other things that can be made from this wasted food. So what usually happens when every day we have the same recurring phenomenon of food being wasted, it's left there, stepped on, and on the other side someone is selling vegetables, and on this side someone is stepping on orange or mangoes. So what is the problem? Because as Samuel has explained, they are stored, and there is a regulation for what needs to be stored in this, what needs to be stored in this. So these ones that you find all over, what usually happens?
What I think that happens, and what happens actually, is lack of systems, lack of knowledge, capacity building, and even lack of the facilities themselves. You'll find that if I want to store my oranges at Nyamakima, an example, or at the Wakulima market, there's no place there that I can go and store my oranges. So I have to pick my oranges in gunias from the truck, throw them down. Some will be, of course, be breaking, others will be, rotting, and all those things. There's nothing I can do. I have no control. And I guess this is why the industry players, even the government, came up now with the warehouse receipting system.
Yes.
To try and bring insanity within the systems in the country. Not only even oranges. Look at meat. How is meat handled? You'll find someone even throwing it on their shoulders and running at a scale around town. What is that? Look at chicken. You'll be even sometimes you wonder, these poor animals, they're on a matatu hanging, their heads down, going to the market. So how do we handle food along the value chain? That's a big question, and a big opportunity also for investment within that system. And through the new act that came into force around 2020. So I think that is what the government and the industry players realize. There's food wastage. There's food mishandling, I can say that. We are even contaminating our food, even not at the farmer gate, at the market gate. So so those are the issues that are coming out, and the narrative that we need all of us to come in and say, we need our food stored in a better place. We need our food handled better for the sake of our health, and also for not wasting food along the country. It's very expensive. We are losing a lot of money. Yeah. And
since that introduction in 2020, the directives in 2020, do you think these things have changed? Is there something that maybe you can look at and say, okay, this was introduced, this has helped shape the conversation now going forward?
Yeah, I can say a lot has changed. Not in a very big scale, but I think we are already working in the right direction. You can see that, for example, the cereal, the farmers who are growing cereal, especially in our food baskets in Trans Nzoia, Eldoret, are now recognizing the fact that they can actually hold food in a better way. We are seeing also other industry players, the hermetic bags that are being introduced in the country, where a farmer can now store food and you hold it in a better way. Apart from that, we are seeing even, I can imagine the last county government of Meru recognizing we need to build a cold store for holding potato. So yes, things are changing, and the mindset is now going to the right direction, where the government plus the industry players and the farmers are recognizing the fact that they have to handle food in a better way.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Now, Samuel, let me bring you in where she's spoken about counties, and she's spoken about Meru County, recognizing that they need to build a cold store for potatoes. So now, even pushing this narrative to the counties of warehouse receipting system, how is it so far? Oh, is every county embracing it, or what is the reception?
Thank you, Calvin. The reception is actually quite good. We have gone to 39 counties.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Already, and talked to government and government players about the need to handle food better, the need to store, provide for storage, issues of food security, issues of food safety, even financing. I'm sure you or your cousins are always getting requests from your parents back home. Send money for fertilizer, send money for the workers. You get. Agriculture is underfunded.
Yes.
The banking sector is giving only 3.5% of its loan portfolio to agriculture. So the warehouse receipt will provide a system that de-risks agriculture through the warehouse receipt. It will be like you want to buy a plot, you always go for a search so that you get a guarantee that that title actually exists. The warehouse receipt system will provide a legal backing to the receipt. That way then the banks can finance agriculture.
Yes.
Which will increase production. Farmers can plant now more land, but they could also be able now to afford more fertilizer, more workers and all that. So production will actually go up. We have talked to 5 out of the 6 regional economic blocks, and they are all receptive. We made a presentation to the governors through the Agriculture Forum. There's a national government, county government agriculture forum, and the reception is very good. So we are changing minds. You may not see physical on the ground,
yes,
but we are changing minds. And once you change minds, then you know the physical will just happen by itself. This year, actually, early in the year, the outgoing Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture launched the warehouse receipt system in Kitale. One of the warehouses belonging to NCPB was certified and was able to receive grains. So it is rolling out. As per now, we have 10 warehouses that are certified, spread across the country. We have I've identified another 59, which we are working on. It's a process.
Okay.
And if we want to guarantee the quality of what you get, we have to check all those warehouses. There are corrective actions that they need to put in place. We don't want to certify a warehouse that is not up to state, so that instead of getting your bag of maize or beans in good quality, you find half of it is not good. So we have to be very deliberate and very careful. So that is ongoing. And reception has been very positive. Like Director Rose has mentioned, Meru has already put up a structure for storage of potatoes, as a cold storage. Nyandarua have also done with that. The other one is coming up in Kisii, and the other one is in Elgeyo Marakwet. So already the conversation has been seeded and it's taking root. Ours is then to guide and maybe create a momentum that it can go. Like we mentioned earlier, the waste, food loss from waste,
yes,
between 25 and 30%. If we reduce that to 10% or reduce it by 10%, we will not have to import any food.
Yes.
And the farmers will be much wealthier, and the consumer will be getting much better quality. But also because of the introduction of the warehouse receipt system, the fluctuations that come of commodities. When people harvest, when the depositors harvest, the prices are very low and the farmer suffers. I think like potatoes, if you look at the potato value chain, when they harvest, a sack of potato goes for about 700 shillings. The farmer has incurred maybe 2,000 to produce it. But 2-3 months down the line, the same bag of potato is fetching 3,000.
Yes.
So if they stored it in a warehouse and regulated the release into the market, maybe they would fetch 2.5. So the consumer would benefit and the producer would benefit. So it has that dual effect. And the traders, they're able to now be sure that they can walk in at a particular time in a warehouse and get it. All these warehouses will be connected through an internet system, which will be hosted by the council. So wherever you are, you can go into the system, find out how much potatoes have been stored, how much maize, how much beans, how much beef, and then you make a purchase decision based on that. So that will help stabilize prices for consumers, but also offer the producers a better, more sustainable price.
All right, Samuel, thank you for that. We'll have to just hold it right there and go for a short break, and then we'll come back and continue with the conversation. All right, there you have it. We're going for a short break. We'll be back with more. When we come back, we're going to also look at drought and how this warehouse receipting system can also help in this journey, even as we deal with climate change and also drought in the country. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back with more. Hello there, welcome back. This is AgriTalk, and before we went for a short break, we were talking about the warehouse receipting system and how it adds into food safety in Kenya and even over Africa and also globally. All right, so now let's continue with this conversation and look at even drought. Drought is now a major, it's actually a national disaster in Kenya. And what are we doing wrong? Because we receive rain, we have farms, we have areas that produce, I think, the largest amount of tea, the largest amount of maize. But what usually happens when it comes to these other ASAL regions and them not receiving these kinds of maybe rainfall and food?
I can't say what we do wrong. I can say that today we are working in the right direction. We need to have deliberate policies towards food security and towards food storage. Look at animals when it's, even just take a county that has animals as their base of agriculture. We can still store those animals in a warehouse in form of meat, and sell it out in the market when it's the right time. And the farmer will receive the money. Other counties like what we call the ASAL counties still produce green grams, millet. If it's stored and released in the market at the right time, then it will also serve the country and the county itself. But the conversation here again is investment. We have underinvested, especially in warehousing, storage, and handling. It is quite expensive to invest in that. If I want to put up a cold storage to handle the meat, for the meat maybe to be stored in 1 year or 6 months, it's not easy. So I think the investment conversation around warehouse receipting should be a conversation that should be taken seriously now, especially to curb drought. Our drought is kind of predictable. We know that in every 5 years, there's drought. We know that, we have quite good systems of weather forecasting now. We can tell whether we will get the rains or we will get the rains. So with that kind of information that is going around and supporting us to actually project and predict, we should now be able to say, what do we do as a country? What do we do as a county level to ensure that our people don't go hungry? And that's the conversation that we should take up now. And warehouse receipting system is there. There's already a framework that will help us to progress and to ensure that Kenyans are not depending on imports only. And that is where now we are saying that as Warehouse Receipting Council, let us take this conversation to the next level. Yes, and go into investment. Who will start investing in this? I think it is a good thing that now the banks are part of the Warehouse Receipting Council. They sit in the council, are represented there. The COG is represented there. The farm is represented there. So when we sit together as a county, we know that even we have our youth out there sitting and saying there's no job. How can we support them to start even investing in the warehouse receipting space? It's a big space. We've just talked about India as more than 1 billion people, more than the country of the continent of Africa. Yes. But they really go hungry. they nearly have the same climatic situation that we have here in Kenya and Africa. So they have invested a lot in warehousing, and they have a structured way of getting their food in the market. So those are the things that we need to learn, not to reinvent the wheel. And we are able to put in structures, systems, and investment in the warehousing sector.
All right, very well said. Samuel, now, from what she's talked about, and you had mentioned about the 59 warehouses that are waiting for clearance and are waiting for certification. So when they are certified, what are we looking at in terms of improving the storage systems that we have in the country?
Thank you. Our ideal is that every sub-county in this country should have a warehouse.
Yes.
That way then, because there is no national food security if you cannot have food security at the sub-county level.
Yes.
You get? So ours is to maybe invite the county leadership to take the lead, because the implementer of the warehouse receipt system, the lead is actually the county, because agriculture to a large level is devolved. So the county leadership takes the responsibility. Ours is to provide technical support to the county so that they're able to implement. So our ideal is that every sub-county should have a warehouse, certified warehouse, so that they can store commodities. Just like we talk the story of Joseph in the Bible, during times of plenty, you store some, so that during the times of drought, you have.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be dry commodities. If it is for beef, like Kajiado and others, and Narok and others, they put in abattoirs with cold storage attached.
Yes.
And we are willing to support that. And we are willing also to support them look for investors. We can prepare an investment guide for them so that those are done. If it is the Kisumu counties, they can put cold storage for fish, Kakamega, Kisumu along the coast. Yeah. If it is the Kakamega and Bungoma, cold dry storage, so that there is some stock to prevent much suffering during the drought. That's how the warehouse can contribute to that. But also, all these warehouses that are certified are connected into one portal. So you can, as a trader, you can go into that portal, which is hosted by the Warehouse Council, and see what is where. You know, just recently we were saying people are starving in one corner of the country and the other country has surpluses. So if that information is available in the portal, then it is a question of moving the commodities from one corner to another. That's how then the Warehouse Council can support that.
Yeah. And for me, I look at it from a trader and a processor point of view, because I'm also a processor and a trader of the same commodities. It will spur now, if you know that you have the raw material, it will spur someone to start adding value. Because again, food at its a basic stage does not have a long shelf life. But now, if we start taking the same food as raw material into value addition, if it's sweet, it becomes bread or something else that is food to the people. Look even at the meat. If you go to other countries, they are actually drying meat. And you know, you move the shelf life from just a few days into years. So how are we going also to look at that in terms of investment? So that even the warehouses can start holding the commodity for trade as it is, and also spur investment within the value chains and also within the people. So that's what we are looking at and saying warehouse receipting will actually even change the mindset of Kenyans into a different thinking. And I think that paradigm shift will ensure that even if droughts come, even if food security as an issue, then with the investment that we are putting in there, then it's going to change everything. Yeah.
All right, and also still on this part of the conversation and looking at, you were mentioning in a country, where one area is wasting food and the other area animals are dying, people are just they can't get access to food. Yes. So where is the balance when you look at this, and how does the warehouse receipting system now comes in to help in such a situation?
Yeah, just like Banogola has told you, the county then becomes the base of warehouse receipting. In a county, I might be in Mandera, I won't know that Nyandarua has excess. But the county in Nyandarua understand that they have excess. Have they invested in warehousing? Are they encouraging investment even from the private sector into warehousing? That then will tell the other corner of the country that there's excess food in such a county and we can buy it. Or the traders will know we can go and buy that food and transport it, because they are the conduit of interconnecting food from one end of the country to the other. They will know that we have cabbages, whatever, or what other food in this county, and they'll go and collect that food and trade with it in the other county. And there can also be an inter-county kind of a trade system. And that also will also spur people to start thinking. I'll give an example. You'll find sometimes carrots is rotting on the farms and potatoes. Well, we can do carrot powder, we can dry carrot, and you know what? Drying carrot is 15:1. I have 15 kilos of wet carrot, I get only 1 kilo, because 80 to 90% is just water. So are you able to dry carrot and keep it in such a way that, again, I can reconstitute it into a food that I can present on the table that just looks like the other one that is fresh. So those are issues that we need to start having conversation through the warehouse receipting. That can only be made possible there, because otherwise, if we are just collecting food from the directly from the farm, we stack it. You know, you'll find the farmer even stacking a gunia and adding another one on top, just to be able to sell their food, and they'll sell it at the same price on a normal gunia, while they are carrying actually 2 in 1. And that's why even farmers cannot realize their return on investment. So with the warehouse receipting, then it unlocks all that. Price discovery, it unlocks money flowing back to the farmer, and unlocks money circulating within the economy. And it's just something that we have to starting having a better conversation that we are having today. But I think warehouse receipting is the key, and we are going to do the right direction.
Right, and also, Samuel, now when we look at warehouse receipting system, of course we cannot just go without mentioning about the middlemen who usually come, and they're the ones who stand between the farmer and the produce that is reaching the market. So for example, a warehouse is built, and this region, this is the warehouse that serves this region or the farmers of this region. So you have someone who has appointed themselves, they've been appointed by people to take care of the warehouse. So they're the ones who really allow things maybe to get out or not to get out. So I would just like to understand if this will not be a challenge going forward, because middlemen will usually be there when it comes to this. So going forward, just enlighten me.
That takes place where there's a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a vacuum, someone will fill in. Mm-hmm. And if garbage comes in,
garbage gets out.
So it happens because there's a vacuum. The farmer has harvested, they don't know where the market is.
Yes.
So me, who has gone out there and I know, I'll come and say I'm the trader here. And I'll try to make money where I've not sold. Even go to the market, leave alone the farm. Even go to a market like Gikomba market. You'll find a guy who doesn't own a shop, trying to be the owner of, Yendo Kusema. You know, without passing through that guy, you won't even buy. And the owners will be looking the other side, because they don't also want their customers to go away.
Yes.
That's a vacuum of lack of systems. Where there are systems, the farmer knows, I'm harvesting, I'm taking to the warehouse. And it will be bought at the right place, it will be stored at in the right way. What will make them give it to the middleman? If it's a normal trader, then we are looking at a better scenario. But now, if we invest in warehouses at the county level, at the sub-county level, then the farmer is aware that I'll make my produce, it will be bought, it can be even stored for me, and I can go look for prices. But if they are holding a bag of mangoes or a bag of carrots and it's rotting, and they know within 3 days it's all rotten, what do you expect them to do?
Yes.
They'll give it away to the middleman. Yeah.
Samuel, you have anything to add?
Yes, she has answered it quite well. Let me just add, the middleman comes in where there is no market access, or the market access is informal. The warehouse receipt system introduces structured commodity trade. Look at tea sector or sub-sector. They are not middlemen. The farmer grows, it is collected from the buying center, it's taken to the factory, it is manufactured, it's taken to the East African tea auction, it is traded, it goes. Where is the middleman there? The only middleman who survives when they're structured is somebody who's adding value. But the one who is just a pest to the system does not survive. So we are not going to chase them away, but we're introducing a structured trading system for the agriculture commodities will streamline, and they'll fall off by themselves. Those who add value may survive, because the farmers will say is adding value to us. But those who don't add value, and majority of them don't add value, they'll fall off. And they're actually benefiting from the farmer and benefiting from the trader. Sometimes they dictate to the trader how much the commodity is being sold. And they dictate to the farmer or to the producer how much they are buying. And in between, they have made their margin. So the WRS first introduces what you call information asymmetry. The producer in Kitale, in Meru, in Kwale would know the price for my commodity is this. So if you come as a middleman and say, mimi nitakuuzia this, I'll buy from this, the farmer already knows. We will be giving them through the mobile app. They should already know the price of maize, the price of coconut, the price of beans, the price of tomatoes. So when the middleman comes and say, no, this is the price. Unless you give me this price, I'm not dealing with you. So that already will reduce. Second is that there's a presence of a storage facility where they have access, it's close to them. So why would I sell in distress if I can store it there and get that receipt, and that receipt becomes collateral because it's backed by law, by the WRS Act. It becomes collateral. I can take it to my favorite bank or SACCO or microfinance and get up to 70% financing for my commodity as I wait to do proper price discovery.
That's really good information, because, you know, there are people who don't really understand, or who might not have the information on what really happens when it comes to a warehouse receipting system, and they might impose on themselves as whatever we've called the middlemen, and trying to sell, and, you know, so that's really insightful and very important information. So let's move on and also look at now, we import and we also export. We as a country, what are some of the systems that we need to improve on when it comes to commodities that are coming in, the produce that is coming in from other countries? Because you might find them coming in already having some certain chemicals, or us exporting them, our produce out with maybe some different regulations that are supposed to be met. But the ones that are coming in, are we really up to date with the kind of commodities that need to come into the country? Or are we really making sure that these commodities that come to the country or produce is according to the standards that we are supposed to be looking at?
Sure. We have standards. We have the East African standards. We are also regulated by the Codex standards. Yes. And unless someone sleeps on their job, KEFIS is there that checks. It's a very efficient body. We have KEBS, and we have other, and you know, even we have industrial standards. So with those standards then, if there's a leakage within the system, yes, we'll find food that is not up to standard. But if the system works and everybody does their job,
yes,
then, because like when we're exporting, you find that there are these standards that have to bind you. There's the MRLs and many others that you cannot penetrate. And even if you do export, it will be returned, it will be rejected at the other port. So I think, yes, the standards are there. And they are you know, the industry now participates even in standard making. KEBS nowadays opens that, and they sit with the industry players and actually do the standards together. That means then they become acceptable, yes, across the board. So yes, standards are there. And warehouse receipting, as we speak, also uses certain standards. That is why you find that the commodity stored in the warehouse is graded. There's grade 1, grade 2, whatever grade is actually within the standards. And I believe that if those systems work and we don't have leakage within the systems, we are going to feed our people with the right kind of food that they need to be fed with. Yeah.
Right. And also, even as we near the close of this discussion, let us look at the new government with it making agriculture as one of its main focuses when it comes to improvement and also distribution of funds and everything else. They're looking at agriculture. How will this help improve even warehouse receipting systems in other areas within Kenya?
Thank you. I can have a take at that. The first one, of course, is that once the warehouse, and the government supports the warehouse receipt system across, once it's rolled out fully, the farmer will produce more and become more wealthy. Yeah? And because the farmer then has access to credit, because we are saying with the WRS system, you de-risk agriculture, you reduce the risks in agriculture. So that triggers lending. And as we speak, we have 9 financial institutions, in fact 10 now, financial institutions that are waiting to increase their lending to agriculture. They're just waiting because they have identified agriculture with the WRS as a potential for business. So we expect lending to agriculture to increase, which will lead to more production, more farms, more employment. The ice cream on the cake is that because of the WRS, value addition, like Director had mentioned, value addition will shoot because the investors now know they are guaranteed of a certain quality and quantity throughout the year, which means they can set up value addition processing plants and factories, which will jumpstart. Agriculture is, I think you say that for every shilling you put in agriculture, you get 4 shillings back, yes, in terms of generating other aspects. So agriculture is very suited, and WRS is in place and ready to support the government policy, especially on value addition and increasing agriculture productivity. Thank you.
All right, Rose, even as we finish, you can just give us your parting shot and then we close.
On a parting shot, I will say that the government initiatives on agriculture and on WRS systems, that is the warehouse receipting, is a very welcome move. It's going to spur growth in the country, and also investors coming into the country. So I will say that with the new systems coming in place, we should embrace them and ensure that the value chain players along the value chain, the farmer is the biggest winner, because without that farmer, there's no future. Can you imagine going to bed hungry? Everybody is leaving farming and coming to the city. Where are you going to get that food from? So we'll start depending on other people to feed us. And when you start depending on other people to feed you, then you become a slave of the other people. So yes, we need to put those systems in place so that the farmer can realize the value of farming, and we can get more people, especially the young people, going back to agriculture and also farming in a better way, because maybe now we need to start even interacting investment in terms of equipment, so that we stop using the hoe in every, in every agriculture, and that way then we are going to attract investment in there. And warehouse receipting system is one of that key area, because if I know that I'm going to sell and take it to my warehouse in a structured system, in a transparent way, then I'll be ready to invest into that system.
All right, thank you so much, Samuel and Rose. There you have it. Samuel Ogola, who is the CEO, Warehouse Receipting System Council, and Rose Mutuku, who is the Eastern Africa Grain Council Director, and she's also a warehouse operator. And they have been contributing into this conversation that we were having about food safety and how the warehouse receipting system is going to be contributing to this even as we move on as a country. All right, we've come to the end. My name is Kelvin Nyakundi. Remember, 1 shilling that you put in agriculture, you'll get 4 shillings back. Never forget about that. All right, let's meet next time, same place, right here on KTN Farmers TV.